Two small disclaimers I forgot to make when recording this video initially. One, I have a towel under me because it's hot as hell and I have to wipe sweat off my face a lot. And two, be prepared. I don't look the greatest for the majority of this video. I apologize in advance. Full transparency, I know I look like a mess right now. It's been a rough day. It's been a rough month, actually. If you say anything about my hair in the comments, you're racist. And disclaimer, you might also hear a fan in the background. I'm sorry. It is almost 90 degrees where I'm at, and I love making videos, but I'm not going to die of heat exhaustion for y'all, just putting that out there. It is hard for me to describe the position that Ye, formerly Kanye West, is in right now. I'm going to keep it real. If you've seen my face before, or you've been subscribed to the channel for a minute, my love-hate, mostly hate nowadays, relationship with Ye has been very well documented. There are over 4 hours worth of videos on this channel dedicated to his downfall as an artist, celebrity, and as a person. Since the Grammy scandal and Twitter rant I covered earlier this year, I can't say things for Ye have improved or even gotten better. It has more or less been stagnant. I feel like within the rap community and just general celebrity culture, Ye has just become kind of like that crazy uncle who watches a bit too much Alex Jones, who many people have just stopped caring about. To be fair, watching more than 1 second of that show is not a good thing for any normal person with a functioning brain, but nowadays you can catch Ye preaching for the release of real-life supervillain P. Diddy, having his next album be almost exclusively written by Dave Blunts, of all people, releasing a song called World War III, releasing a song called Heil, renouncing anti-Semitism for the 100th time in a row in a very real apology, and then went back like a week later to tweet very obviously anti-Semitic leaning tweets about Shopify closing his account. You know, after he bought Super Bowl ad space to plug a Sean John collab and sell a swastika t-shirt, mind you, also fulfilling his days spending time with Neon and Sneeko, and still Nick Fuentes, and is gearing up to release his album Bully or Cuck, which, as of recording today, he just dropped 3 official singles on streaming platforms, even though the album's technically been out for a while now. I really hope that the fan can't be picked up. And surprise, surprise, outside of his core fans, nobody really gives a fuck about this album. Going from having 2 albums make the top 2 on Billboard within the same year and having your first #1 song in over a decade to have almost no one give a fuck about your upcoming music is quite a change to go through within just 11 months or so. And keep in mind, 2024 was still a year where he was coming off of the Alex Jones incident and other inflammatory comments he made in the end of 2022. Even when this man was hand-delivered the biggest and easiest possible chance to make a comeback, he somehow fumbled that opportunity again, and is now in an objectively worse position than he was in the end of 2022. And the thing is, this man's ever-growing flop era, it is June, sorry, not to sound like a broken record, proved the exact point I made over a year ago, back in the FML video. Now, most of you watching are likely aware of this video or may have seen it. To this day, it is my most popular, sitting at over 49,000 views as of recording, and was the longest video I'd ever made, up until this recent weekend video I did. Go check out both of them if you haven't, by the way, when we're done here. And also, weekend movie review soon. I have a lot to say. I have referenced that video many times since, because the unfortunate truth of the matter is, I was kind of right. To summarize, the thesis of that video is that Kanye predicted his own self-imposed downfall back on 2016's The Life of Pablo, with me paying particular attention to the 11th track on the album, FML, featuring The Weeknd. This song, in my eyes, was an open and honest piece of self-reflection of Ye's character, as he uses this song to remind us, and himself, his core values, and that if he were to ever lose said values, he would indeed fuck his life up. Those 3 main core values, as detailed on the album and the song, were his religion, faith, his creativity and artistry, and most importantly, his family. And after going over all of his major controversies post TLOP in that video, I felt it safe to say that my assumption was correct, as he would go on to lose his family in his very nasty divorce from Kim Kardashian, said divorce to this day he has handled horribly. He would go on to lose a lot of his artistry as he continues to alienate more and more of his fan base and collaborators. Him now even beefing with Ty Dolla $ign and Cardi, the two men who helped him the most during his short-lived 2024 comeback. The dude now growing a reliance on writers and AI to make music nowadays, and without even compensating the people that he's working with properly. Allegedly, while still calling himself a psycho genius who could beat Kendrick in a rap battle. Psycho genius, oh my god. Wrap it up, nigga, you 48. Calm down. And has also since lost his religion. Even though he seemed to regain his faith during the eras of Jesus is King and Donda, he's very clearly lost it again. With the divorce from Kim, the way he talks about and treats his current wife, and the announcement of easy porn, among other insane things, all in his never-ending pursuit of validation and power. This shit very clearly goes against some of the most basic teachings of Christianity. I made the point that if Ye continued this downward spiral without reflecting on his actions, he could one day hit true rock bottom, like he did when the Alex Jones controversy happened, to an even larger degree. Namely, the example I used in the video was the ability for him to see his kids. But there could be a day where Ye's rock bottom lasts a bit longer than just a couple months. There is a very real possibility that if he does not get his shit together, he could be deemed mentally unfit to see his kids. Like his divorce lawyer said, Ye has already been proven to be an erratic person. That, combined with the constant shouting of conspiracy theories and bigoted ideologies and all of that, mixed with the fact that, once again, he's a dark-skinned black dude, that's not going to work well for him in custody court. And if anything would really destroy him, that would be it. And that is so depressing to think about. But again, if that were to happen, he'd have no one to blame here but himself. Kim Kardashian has already gone on record talking about how much of an uncomfortable situation she's in, where she has to shield her kids from what the media is saying about their daddy so that, it doesn't tarnish their views of him. I mean, according to Ye and Kim's family, the two have been in a very nasty custody battle since 2022 when the divorce was finalized. And with us now being a year past the release of that video, and Ye somehow being in an even worse position now, I felt the urge to revisit the life of Pablo to go over another two songs that I think also explain some of Ye's recent behavior and shine a brighter light on some of Ye's ongoing internal conflicts. And those songs I want to discuss today are Real Friends with Ty Dolla $ign and St. Pablo with Sampha. The reason why I wanted to touch on these two songs in particular is because I realized how much I overlooked them and the story of the album when making the video. I remember getting multiple comments from people expressing to me how they believe that St. Pablo was like what FML means to me, essentially, being this deep examination of Kanye's character that also seemed to predict some future outcomes. And yes, some lines in St. Pablo definitely did not age well, but we'll see if they stack up in the same way. I feel like in the pursuit of proving my thesis, and that video being centered around that song due to it also being part of a series of videos, I realized I overlooked a lot of the story of the album. And the more I've re-listened to it over the year, I came to realize that these two songs, along with FML, of course, are arguably the most important on the whole album and potentially of the man's entire discography. So to celebrate the year anniversary of that video and the anniversary to the finale, to No One Wants to Fall Out of Heaven, I felt it was important to go over the story of the life of Pablo one more time so we can see how Kanye himself predicted how things could fall apart for him. This video is going to be a lot shorter than the FML video, and towards the end it might get a bit loosely scripted, but I encourage you to stay and hear what I have to say here. Now, for this explanation of the life of Pablo, I will be reusing some clips from the FML video, but not to the point of fully re-uploading it, just so I can add extra context here. I won't know until editing. I'm worried that my fan is making noise, so I'm turning it off for now. If it does, I'm sorry. I might take this hoodie off too. I look like a mess, but I can't sit like this for an hour. This only felt right. Please kill me. Before we get to the story of the life of Pablo again, it is important to catch up to speed with Kanye's life during the TLOP era. As I said in the original video, TLOP was the album preceding the highly controversial yet critically acclaimed Yeezus. And life for Ye between the Yeezus era up until TLOP was moving quite fast. Ye married Kim and had North in 2014 and 13 respectively, and TLOP would go through significant changes during 2014 and 15, going from a scrapped Paul McCartney collab album Still wild to think that a former Beatle was going to make an album with the Whoop Diddy Scoop Man. Then going into the era of So Help Me God, then to Swish, then briefly to Waves, before finally landing on The Life of Pablo. During this time, also, he had officially started his venture in the world of fashion, and had his son Saint in December. 2015 was the most turbulent year of the post-Yeezus era, and arguably one of his best years as a celebrity in terms of public perception, as this was where Ye was building a family and building himself up as a multifaceted creative mogul, even being labeled as one of the top 100 influential people by Time magazine in 2015, making the cover that same year. The man was married to one of the biggest stars on the planet, had his first child, this helping birth the beautiful song Only One, not the one I talked about in the series. He started the Yeezy season shows, unveiling his new clothing and sneakers with Adidas. He was given the MTV Video Vanguard Award, now known as the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award, in 2015 by Taylor Swift, the two having an amazing full circle moment from the 2009 VMAs incident. And at this very same show, Ye famously announcing his bid to run for president in 2020. Wonder how that went. This man, from our perspective as onlookers, was living his best life and not going back and forth with any niggas. The fashion industry, an industry that he had been fighting tooth and nail to break into since the college dropout days, was finally starting to embrace him and give him a chance. He was becoming more and more positively received. He was in the background working on some of 2015 and 16's most legendary projects, including his own. He seemed to be on top of the world. But of course, when listening to The Life of Pablo, that mask starts to slip very quickly, as we learn that not everything is as glamorous as it may seem. Sorry, quick sponsor break. This video is sponsored by me, in fact. This will be no longer than like 15 seconds. Let me just make this quick. I am in the midst of working on a sequel project to No One Wants to Fall to Heaven, but the summer job that I was working that would help me pay for it, I was spontaneously let go from it the other day. If you go to LxgendaryWill.com, you'll see this new button. Click it, it'll link to my Ko-Fi with a video properly explaining what's going on, if you are interested in helping out. If not, you viewing these videos, sharing them out, also helps support the channel and helps me support me making that. So, thank you. Back to the video. To re-explain the way TLOP's story was framed, we're going to take a quick detour back to the FML video for a second. The initial tease track listing for Swish or Waves was a lot more organized and condensed. Nina Chop, now known as Famous, Father Stretch My Hands, and Waves were the first part of a 3-act album. The second act would have Highlights, 30 Hours, No More Parties in LA, and Fade. And the third and final act would have the songs FML, Real Friends, and Wolves, with the album ending on Ultralight Beam. This 10-track album was a way more organized project. But when it came time for release, Kanye decided to push all of that to the wayside, as the album would go from 10 to 20 tracks, 2 of them being interludes though. The title itself, The Life of Pablo, is meant to exemplify Kanye's life. As he compares himself to 3 famous Pablos he sees himself in. The first, not so surprisingly, being Pablo Picasso. The visionary and legendary artist not only pushed boundaries with his art, but was also very, very vocal with his politics and his ways on how we can improve the world. And Kanye's in a similar boat. He's easily one of the most influential artists of the 2010s and potentially of all time. And he's also known to be very vocal about his politics, for better or for worse. One point that I feel is important to add is the fact that Ye comparing himself to Picasso has very troubling parallels when you look into it. One of my personal biggest criticisms is that I did not look that much into Picasso. And the thing is, the dude kind of a lot sucked. He sucked. He kind of sucked as a person. He took inspiration from a lot of African art, and when asked about it, would downplay its significance in his pieces. He abused and cheated on some of his ex-partners, also going as far to sabotage his ex-partner's art career by encouraging others not to buy her work, but also has been labeled countless times as a misogynist. His own granddaughter writing in a memoir about him that he, quote, submitted women to his animal sexuality, tamed them, bewitched them, ingested them, and crushed them onto his canvas. After he had spent many nights extracting their essence, once they were bled dry, he would dispose of them. Imagine your granddaughter talking about you in this manner. This man is cooked. This comparison, given recent, naked wife events, is a lot less flattering than one might think. The next is St. Paul the Apostle from the Bible. Paul in Spanish is Pablo, by the way. Paul is seen as one of the most important figures in Christianity besides Jesus himself. Paul is also responsible for writing 13 books out of the New Testament. Kanye sees himself in Paul because he too is a very devout Christian, who has been known to preach in honor of the Lord. This praise musically traces back to the unforgettable Jesus Walks from the College Dropout.
The final Pablo is Pablo Escobar. Now, on paper, this sounds pretty wild, but hear me out. Kanye doesn't see himself as like a murderous drug kingpin. Escobar is meant to be a metaphor for Kanye's fame and fortune. As most of us know at this point, Escobar is easily the most infamous drug lord in all of history. He made an exuberant amount of money that he would blow on large houses, weapons, and... Escobar is meant to represent the power and excess that Kanye has as a wealthy celebrity. But the most pressing and bizarre part of their comparison is that, just like Kanye, Escobar was a family man. He cared so much about his family, even being sad when they were gone. Pablo even went on the run in pursuit of seeing his family, this ultimately leading to his demise. The pasted-together cover art is supposed to demonstrate how all over the place his life is. The bottom tagline of Which One is a question to the listener. Which Pablo is he? The main narrative of the album is Kanye trying to find balance among it all. And even then, it still does feel a bit all over the place.
And now, for a slightly more detailed look at the track list. The album starts with the iconic opener, Ultralight Beam, featuring The Dream, gospel singers Kelly Price, Kirk Franklin, and Chance the Rapper. This song establishes Kanye's faith in God as one of his biggest and most important values. The title refers to the beginning of Acts chapter 9 in the Bible, specifically verses 1 through 9, where St. Paul the Apostle, known as Saul at this time in the Bible, is on his way to Damascus to arrest followers of Jesus under the authority of the high priest. On this journey, a bright light, or an ultralight beam if you will, was shown on Paul, this light revealing itself to be Jesus himself. Jesus questions Paul as to why he was going to Damascus to persecute him, thus beginning a trial of faith, where Paul is blinded for 3 days and is led to Damascus, where he later regains his sight, is filled with the Holy Spirit, and baptized, becoming a devout follower of the Lord, going on to even face persecution for his conversion as the book of Acts continues. Kanye uses this song to preach us that no matter how tough things may get for him, he will always have faith and look to the Lord for guidance. Then on Father Stretch My Hands, parts 1 and 2, after the you know what line in part 1, featuring Kid Cudi, Metro Boomin, and Kelly Price, Ye establishes the importance that his wife holds to him, with the verse and pre-chorus having Ye recounts an argument between him and Kim, with Kanye realizing that at the end of the day, all that really matters is that they get past this argument so that they can wake up together the next morning, with Kanye also proclaiming that he wants to be liberated. And as the album continues, we see that he wants to be liberated from the shackles of his celebrity, as he feels that it doesn't allow him to live life as freely as he would want to, with the media surveying and critiquing everything he does. And I sure hope he doesn't take that freedom thing to an extreme. Then in part 2, a remix of Good Music signee Designer's Panda, he elaborates on why maintaining a stable and happy relationship with his partner means so much to him, as his own father left his mother when he was young, being more preoccupied with his own life than to support Ye, and the unfortunate passing of his mother Donda West still weighing heavily on him, even almost 9 years removed from it. Then we get to Famous with Rihanna and Swizz Beatz, where Ye, after saying that one thing, boasts the successes that he's been able to achieve, while continuing to proclaim his desire to be free from the labels that the media puts on him once more, recounting his belief that his celebrity holds back his personal and creative freedoms. Another banger, ending on what is still top 5 sample chops of all time. We then get Feedback, another song where he does a bit of boasting, proclaiming that after returning from a 3-year gap between Yeezus and TLOP, he is ready to take over the game once more. Then proceeding the Blow Lights interlude, a testimony about how much the speaker, rumored to be Lisa Nichols but not confirmed, thanks God for the successes in her life and anticipates the day that she reaches the pearly gates. We get highlights with The Dream, Kelly Price, and El DeBarge, and Young Thug. I don't know why I forgot to put him down. Don't stop, they keep going. Kanye continues once more, celebrating his success, marrying his dream wife, starting his dream family, and being a highly successful and respected artist, mentioning his 21 Grammy wins at the time, and again declaring that he will make more highlights in the future. This song also featuring lines that haven't aged the greatest, like being an avid follower of Louis Farrakhan, and also saying that he will bust the coach's head open on some Diddy shit. What do you mean by that, Playboy? That's kind of interesting. No, this line is in reference to a moment in 2015 where Diddy assaulted his son Justin's coach at UCLA, believing that the coach was disrespecting him, which on paper sounds like an almost harmless line about a father just going hard for his son, but knowing the shit that Diddy has done to people and the shit that by proxy Kanye supports, yeah, this line aged terribly. Quick reminder, in that video where Cassie is being assaulted in that hotel room, she tries to protect herself with a TLOP hoodie. full broad daylight. You can see it. It is a TLOP hoodie, and Kanye is still going to bat for this man. If I saw my art being used in that fashion, dude, it would break my fucking heart. Unfucking believable. We then get to Freestyle 4 with Designer, a track where Kanye, clearly high on something, gets really horny and energetic, wondering if he could his wife in the most unconventional of places. The title Freestyle 4 is a demonstration of the randomness and spontaneity that Ye expresses in this song. As you know, dude is not Ken Carson and does not have a Freestyle 1, 2, or 3 in his discography he's following up here. It's very much random. This track could potentially be a window into Ye's mind when he is either high or amped up due to his bipolar disorder, and having the luxury to do basically whatever he wants because of his wealth and fame. Theoretically, he could his wife at that Vogue party. Is it a great idea? Probably not, but he could do it. We then get a brief intermission with a song that makes me cry harder than Runaway because it's just aged so well. I don't know if well is the right word, but I love Kanye. In this very short poem, Ye recounts many of the criticisms he has received from fans and critics over the years, wishing that he would get back to his roots, playing into the popular meme about Kanye loving Kanye, and even recounts how he has inspired others to follow his older style. Like I said in the FML video, I'll repeat it again here, the sentiment within this song grows popular with every passing. I truly do miss the old Kanye, even if old Kanye is 2021 Kanye. The last one before our main three subjects, Waves with Chris Brown and Kid Cudi, and a sample of Akon saying, yeah. Waves is a beautiful song, where Ye once more preaches the importance his loved ones have in his life, proclaiming his never-ending allegiance to his wife and kids, and reminding himself that loved ones he has lost, like his mother, have never really left him, as of course, waves don't die, they just fluctuate. So, once again, the album does start off quite positively, with Ye boasting his success, stating his passion for his family and loved ones, his undying faith in the Lord, and his desire to be free to create and live life without the shackles of fame tying him down. But again, we reach the middle part of the album, where the tone begins to take a massive shift. This shift, of course, starting with FML. Similarly to what I did in the weekend video when I discussed After Hours, I will be reusing some clips from the FML video for this discussion, but adding on needed context and retelling the story in the song, as I believe there are some parts of the song and album that, again, I overlooked in the original video. If you have seen the video before and don't care to see the recap again, I would still suggest that you stay for some added context, but if not, video chapters are below.
FML itself has a double meaning in this song. For most, the acronym means fuck my life, but in this song, it's also used to mean for my lady.
In the first verse, we seem to catch Ye coming off of a come to Jesus moment, which is very fitting for this album. Kanye recognizes that he's been in love with Kim for a long time, the two initially meeting in 2004, maintaining a friendship together before dating, acknowledging that he can't fumble the love of his life for some coochie. I forgot to change the lights again. There's not really an orange button. He also acknowledges that despite what he has been saying so far during the album, he has been living quite freely with his successful business ventures, while also acknowledging that he is the only person who can control said business, personal or professional. He continues to reiterate the love that he has for his wife and kids, saying that he will die for those he loves, and ask God for the strength to leave his sinful desires behind, namely other women, so that he doesn't lose half of what he owns, a line very clearly hinting at divorce. He then ends this first verse saying that he has been reflecting on his creative vision. Said vision specifically being this very album, where he put in over 3 years of time and effort into a project where he bears his heart and soul out to us listeners.
Just in this first verse, Kanye fully summarizes the narrative of this album, finding balance. He mentions how much he cares about his family, his faith, his art, and how he needs to balance them with his fame and power. He says that he has to put his faith in his family first. Otherwise,
like I said in the original video, in this song, Kanye started to realize how much of the world he truly had in his hands. This song appears to be Kanye's promise to himself not to fall and lose everything he has worked for. His growing family, his own creative business ventures, his religion, all the things he can't live without. He's admitting to himself that he is a flawed person who needs to improve, as he doesn't want to lose these 3 things he cherishes the most. In the second verse, we see what might have caused this come to Jesus moment as Ye gets into an argument with Kim while off his Lexapro, an antidepressant also used to treat bipolar disorder, the same condition that Ye would be publicly diagnosed with later that year. During a honeymoon that the two took in Mexico, a honeymoon that did happen in real life, Kim started an argument with Kanye in a Giuseppe store, an Italian luxury brand that has collabed with Kanye before, funnily enough, as she believed that he was suspiciously texting another woman. Ye tries to gain her trust by showing that he denied her advances. I don't know if "don't text me ho" is the most convincing thing to show your wife, but hey man, this is your life. But Kim is still upset with Ye and does not fully trust him, potentially due to a past of infidelity that has been hinted at in this song. And because he's off his meds and can't regulate his emotions, he starts going off on her as well, saying that when they get out of public, he's going to really lay into her, or check her. This point is something that I regret not putting a bigger emphasis on in the original video. Ye has since admitted in music, and a lot of his insiders have revealed as well, Ye has cheated on Kim multiple times. And it appears that after this particular argument, Ye realized that he could ruin everything he had worked for if he didn't admit to his faults and try to fix himself. His infidelity and issues surrounding sex and pornography seem to be the true catalyst for this song, as those demons seem to have not fully escaped him yet. In that beautiful chorus from The Weeknd, he states that there are people out there preying on both Kanye and The Weeknd's respective downfalls, as coincidentally, The Weeknd's previous album before TLOP, Beauty Behind the Madness, had similar themes of Abel trying to become a better person while navigating his newfound fame. Another reason why Abel was the perfect feature for this song, and why I really need him to perform this song on August 2nd. Abel, please! These tickets are $500. Please just play the song. Whether it be the media, social media comments, or whoever. But Ye and The Weeknd remind themselves that they are the only ones to blame, and they are the only ones who can own up and fix their mistakes. The song then ends with that haunting outro sampling Hit by Section 25, with the sample repeating, "See through the veil, forget all your cares, throw them away." Once more on the album, he continues to preach that he cannot let what others think of him dictate his life, and he needs to live freely and take control of his own happiness. Still, we see his relationship with the outside world influence some of his behavior, as in the chorus, The Weeknd sings that he can't let them being the public, get to him, and with him closing out the song, begging Kim not to leave him, or to stop her loving. He continues to reiterate that the social shackles of his fame and celebrity status stop him from living as freely as he would like to, believing that many people want to see him fail, and that there are those out there that want to see Ye and Kim's relationship crumble, with Kanye begging Kim again not to stop her loving, not just because he really does love her, but because he can't let his haters win, ending the track on quite an ominous and foreboding note. Look, I have been glazing this song for the past year since, so I'm not going to repeat myself for the millionth time here, but this song is a masterpiece. This kind of openness and vulnerability we don't see from Ye anymore, mainly because he is too busy rapping about his love for and calling people on Twitter in big 2025. This nigga's 48. You're 48 and you're acting like you're 12 on 4chan. Get a life. No matter who is listening, the song's overall message of admitting your faults and gathering the courage to be better is something that we can all relate to. This is admittedly kind of an odd way to describe the song, but this track almost feels like, I don't know, like the ghost of Christmas past. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like the song is framed as kind of like a warning, showing you what could happen if you don't change your ways. And I think the song's very eerie and unsettling production helps drive that feeling home too. Perfect chorus, scarily beautiful outro, perfect feature, top 5 Kanye easily. I still just hate how well it foreshadowed Kanye's downfall. But again, I would still need Mr. Tesfaye to perform that song on August 2nd. Pretty please. I'll get the line tatted. I'll do it, man, please. Right after FML, we then get the next song that I want to discuss in depth, Real Friends, with Ye's fellow, or former Vulture, Ty Dolla $ign. This song was initially released a month before TLOP, as Kanye brought back his Good Friday series in January 2016, releasing singles for tracks that would end up on The Life of Pablo. Starting on New Year's Eve with the original version of track 18, Facts, then getting Real Friends a week later, followed by No More Parties in LA in 30 Hours on the 18th of January and 12th of February, respectively. As you can guess from the title, Kanye reflects on his relationships with his friends, family, and other loved ones. I feel like I really glossed over the message of this song in the original video, so it felt increasingly important to dive deeper into the lyrics of this track. In the first verse, Ye immediately starts off asking how many real friends are truly out there nowadays. Given Ye's celebrity status, he is constantly paranoid, wondering if any of his relationships with others are real, genuine connections, and not just vultures, no pun intended, trying to mooch off of him. With Kanye also understanding why people do hit him up for favors, but still putting some distance between him and them. As the verse continues, he admits that he has not always been the best friend or family member he could be, being so preoccupied with his celebrity life that he forgets and or doesn't feel like making time for his family and or day ones. With him trying to push blame on others, blame game reference, but deep down, knowing that it is mostly his fault that he missed these events. As Ty elaborates on the bridge, if he truly cared, he would have made the time, even with his busy schedule. In this bridge, Ty brings up the paranoia of fake friends again, briefly mentioning those who want favors from him. The example in the bridge being like front row seats to sports games. In the second verse, Kanye, with punch-ins from Ty, goes back and forth between defending his neglectfulness and admitting to being selfish. He continues to defend some of his negligence by once more recounting that he's just been preoccupied with his own growing family and feels like he can only briefly pass time with his friends and loved ones before getting back to business. In these first two verses, we start to see this kind of internal conflict within Kanye. From his family and loved ones' perspective, Kanye has allowed the fame and the money to change him and hasn't been there for any of them. And Kanye can very clearly sense that divide and does feel remorseful, wanting to be there for his loved ones, but is still wrapped up in a very justified paranoia that many of these same people just want to mooch off of him. Then in the third and final verse, which takes more of a ranting tone, Ye even ceasing to rhyme for most of it, he focuses more on these supposed moochers in his life, and laments how others only seem to hit him up when they need something from him. But then the verse ends on a very important line, reading, "I had a cousin that stole my laptop that I was fucking bitches on. Paid that nigga $250,000 just to get it from him." This line is in reference to a real-life incident, believed to be the very catalyst for the creation of this song. Confirmed later in December 2016 by a cousin of Kanye's, Franklin Lawrence, in an exclusive Daily Mail article. According to Lawrence, one of their cousins received a laptop as a gift from Kanye back in 2012, the same year Kim and Kanye started dating. This laptop was most likely a hand-me-down, as this cousin would go on to find a sex tape on it featuring Ye and an unknown light-skinned woman. It's kind of unclear whether or not this tape was recorded during Kim and Kanye's relationship, but either way, this cousin saw this as an opportunity to get a check. He would end up hiring an attorney and gathering a small legal team to blackmail Ye, and even leak some information about this whole ordeal to prove that he really did have this tape. He was able to blackmail Ye with the laptop effectively, and with Kanye wanting to handle this matter privately, instead of going to court, he ended up settling this dispute, as Kanye would eventually end up paying $250,000 to get the laptop back, with that same cousin also being forced to take a lie detector test to prove that he did not make any other copies. And this goes without saying, but like, say what you want about Kanye now, this is still beyond evil behavior. Even if Kanye had been cheating on Kim, which still is not good, just to be clear, threatening to leak such a private video like that is diabolical. It's not only disrespectful to Kanye, but to that poor woman in the video. Having Ye's family accidentally stumble on it is one thing that is already incredibly embarrassing and mortifying. But having this guy that you don't know threatening to leak an intimate video of you so he can profit off of that, that's beyond unsettling. And again, this whole ordeal was not done by just some nefarious hacker. This was Kanye's own blood family. That's gotta hurt. As the Daily Mail article continues, Lawrence believes that this incident had to be the start of Kanye's decline in mental health. The thing is, this article was published just a little less than a month after Kanye was hospitalized and placed on psychiatric hold following the abrupt and disastrous end to the St. Pablo tour. From Lawrence's perspective, this event was a big driving force behind Kanye's dwindling mental health, and even the disruption of Kanye's family life. According to Lawrence, following this moment, Ye became increasingly distrustful of his friends, family, and other ones in his inner circle. And on top of that, the following year after this supposed incident would have happened was the Yeezus era, the beginning of Kanye's more erratic perception in the public eye. the timelines unfortunately do add up. Kanye starts and closes this verse almost yelling into the void, wondering what real friends he really has out there, clearly not confident that that number is high, ending again on a very somber and reflective note. The reason why I think this song and its backstory are so important to the album is because you can see how the events in this story can explain some of Kanye's behavior nowadays. One of the bigger points that I made in regards to Kanye's downfall in the original video was that he has been continuously surrounding himself with unbelievably obvious yes men, while also saying that he is making an effort to remove people from his life that may degrade his mental health. As, in his own words, the first step on how to not kill yourself is to avoid being around people who make you want to kill yourself. And to a degree, I can't really blame the guy. Going through something as traumatic as that would f me up to and would make me wary of who I open myself up to. Platonically, romantically, anything. But Ye's choice to surround himself with yes men is not the solution he thinks it is. With the song title being Real Friends, I feel it is important to bring up the core foundations of a friendship. Of course, you may become friends with somebody because you have a common interest. You just so happen to get grouped together for some kind of project. You may have just randomly met one day and your personalities seem to mesh really well. Or you become friends and then start gathering unresolved romantic feelings for them. Omar, please respond to my text. We need to talk about what happened that night in Bethesda. Please pick up the phone. But what keeps a friendship alive is having a genuine love and care for that person. If you really cared about someone, you would want to see them do well and be the best person they can be. And that means having the courage to tell them the truth and or criticize them in a respectful manner, when applicable. Listen, some of my friends, they do dumb shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know who you are. I love you though. But they don't do like life-altering, relationship-ruining, stupid shit every day. Thank God I don't think I have the capacity to deal with that. I do, but it'd be a lot. But if these moments were to come, I am more than ready to talk. I'm just one person, but I'm always making sure that my friends are well mentally, making sure that they're not doing things that could harm themselves or others, and I do my best to give advice or just be a listening ear if need be. And look, all of my friends are grown-ass men, women, and theys with full bodily autonomy. They can do whatever they want. I can't stop them, but all I can do is offer my support, and they do with it as they please. Complacency is not real friendship. As Kanye's views and behaviors have grown more erratic and his mental health has clearly worsened, especially with his substance abuse, he is constantly surrounded more and more by clear glazers who do not have his best interests at heart. These people will never challenge Ye's ideas or behaviors because if they do, they won't get their check, their clout, or however else one could benefit from Kanye's presence. All while Ye is actively destroying himself. I mean, look at Kanye's interview with DJ Academics earlier this year. Actually, don't fully look. I don't think I can show you Kanye in a clan outfit entirely on YouTube. But despite Ak not being a friend of Ye's, he was the only person Ye wanted to speak to during his post-Grammys crash out. And that's mainly because most popular interviewers within any kind of music, rap, podcast community, etc. would have at least made the effort of trying to push back on Kanye's views during an interview. And Ak wouldn't. For example, look at Ye's interview with Tim Pool back in 2022, when all this anti-Semitic shit really started. The Timcast IRL is an extremely right-leaning podcast, the kinds of political views that Ye has been associating with since at least 2018. And when Tim very lightly pushed back on some of Nick, You Better Not Ever Go to Subblock 1 Fuentes, and Ye's very blatantly obvious anti-Semitic comments about the media, he stormed off. Someone who ideally has very similar views to Kanye said one thing he didn't like, and he dipped. I'm sorry, there's no other way to describe it. That's bitch-ass nigga behavior. It's no wonder why another former friend of Ye's, Pusha T, said in a recent interview during his press tour for the new Clips album that him and Kanye don't get along anymore because Kanye, quote, sees through my fakeness with him. He knows I don't think he's a man, and that's why we can't build with each other no more. That's why me and him don't click, because he knows what I really think of him. This all brings me back to my point that real friendship takes accountability. Look, I'm not going to divulge all of my personal life out of here on the internet, but there have been moments where I will admit I have been a bad friend. In one particular incident, I was very rude to a friend of mine, and it almost cost me a friendship that means the world to me. And you know what happened after that? Not only did I immediately apologize and apologize and apologize when I realized how badly I fucked up, I also had my friends drag me as well because I fucked up. They held me accountable for my actions, and I became a better person and a better friend because of that. Taking criticism from my friends and having to look internally was not easy at all. I'm not saying it's easy. Even thinking about it now, it not only makes me cringe, I still feel really terrible for the things I said. And this whole ordeal happened more than 2 years ago. But I was able to understand that I was called out because I was being a dickhead and I needed to learn a lesson. And now, that friendship is stronger than ever. And shout out to you, buddy. I know you watch my videos constantly. And I hope to buy you a Playboy Cardi poster for your birthday. She's probably going to block me when this video comes out. If I surrounded myself with people who co-signed every action I made or remained silent when I say or do harmful things, I would never be able to grow as a person. And that is the exact trap Ye is in. No one in his life is willing to check him, and the people who are left in his circle that may say or do things he doesn't like, he'll go off on them on Twitter like an edgy 8th grader and cut them off. Knowing the background behind this song makes it clearer as to why Ye has been acting like this, but unfortunately doesn't make it any less sad. Moving back to the album, The Life of Pablo continues with the next tracks, Wolves with C and Vic Mensa, and Frank's track by Frank Ocean, being the original outro to Wolves. This song was inspired by a conversation that Kanye and Drake had, back when they were cool, about creating their long-lost collab album of the same name, Wolves. In this song, Kanye discusses his relationship with Kim Kardashian, admitting very vulnerably that they were both lost before they met each other, praying that they can continue to foster a family together and protect North and Saint, their only kids at the time, from the wolves. This song is absolutely beautiful. If only Kanye wasn't an anti-Semitic abuse/apologist piece of shit and Sia wasn't ableist, I'd be able to enjoy the song a little bit more. After the Silver Surfer intermission, we then get to 30 Hours with Andre 3000. In this song, Kanye reflects on his relationship with his ex-girlfriend, Shima K. Rainey, who was Kanye's partner during and before the college dropout era, acknowledging that, with hindsight, their relationship was not going to last as he once thought, happy with the relationship that he has now. We then get to the fan-favorite track, which has unfortunately aged very poorly, given certain things. No More Parties in LA with Kendrick Lamar, and co-production from the legendary Madlib. This beat was given to Ye during the Twisted Fantasy sessions, and even the chorus and the opening line that we hear today were recorded back in 2009. But of course, we wouldn't get this song until 2016. On this track, Kanye and K-Dot air out their grievances with rich people and just the general toxicity of LA and celebrity culture, with the chorus seeming to hint that with Ye starting a family, it's best to start leaving the parties in LA behind. Good call. Kanye even ends this verse with a call back to Real Friends with the line, "As far as real friends, tell all my cousins I love them, even the one that stole the laptop, you dirty motherfucker." We then reach our anti-penultimate track, Facts, Charlie Heat version, which is simply just a remix of the original version from Good Fridays. The original beat was produced by the super production duo Southside of 808 Mafia and Leland Metro Boomin' Make It Boom Wayne. Metro Boomin' Make It Boom. And this song was remixed by Good Music in-house producer Charlie Heat, most likely due to the mixed fan reception of the original. And in my opinion, the original Facts beat wasn't bad, it was just kind of boring. Kanye interpolates Future and Drake's Jumpman from What a Time to Be Alive, using this interpolation to throw shade at Nike following the success of Kanye's Adidas deal that would never fall apart or bring forth any issues for him in the future at all. We then get our penultimate track, Fade, with pre-country music, Post Malone, unironically missed that era, and Ty Dolla $ign, a track where the trio sing about a failing relationship, feeling that their partner's love is fading. But let's keep it real. Most people are only aware of this song nowadays because of the very risque music video featuring Tiana Taylor, performing a very passionate dance routine inspired by the movie Flashdance, ending with a very spicy shower scene with her now ex-husband, NBA player Iman Shumpert. When looking in that comment section, you can see just how many women Tiana Taylor indirectly gave body dysmorphia to. And look, I'm not a woman, but even that shit made me insecure too, man. Tiana Taylor, she is something else, man. Oh, holy hell. But after this roller coaster of emotions and self-reflection over these last 9 songs, we then finally get to the album's final track and the last song I want to discuss before we wrap up today's video. Saint Pablo with Sampha. Instead of going over this track line by line as I did for FML and Real Friends, I feel it is important to discuss this song's overarching themes more. The way Saint Pablo is written is more like a stream of consciousness during an emotional low point for Kanye, rather than a formally composed song. This song was recorded after the initial TLOP unveiling at Madison Square Garden. The intro itself softly confirming it, with aspects of this instrumental dating back to the post-Yeezus, Yeezus 2 remix era. He teased it toward the end of February 2016, crashing Yo Gotti's album listening party to debut the song. Said party ending with a rant where he replies to Amber Rose's tweets about playing in his ass.
That bitch ain't never stick no fingers in my hand. I don't play like that.
Oh my god. That'll never stop being funny. That'll never stop being funny. Oh my god. And the song would initially leak in March of 2016, but would be the final addition to the album on June 14th of that same year, being one of the last major additions and changes to the life of Pablo. This song is primarily built on the sample of Jay-Z's Where I'm From, a track coming off of his 1997 sophomore album, In My Lifetime Volume 1. In the original song, Jay vividly reflects on the hardships he went through growing up in the Marcy housing projects in Brooklyn, New York, where Jay hails from. But on St. Pablo, Kanye discusses his fears and insecurities surrounding his fame, namely the rise of Yeezy and the effect it could have on his family, ending the latter self-reflective part of the album with another very open and honest deep dive into his character. He starts the first lines of the song reaffirming his personal back and forth struggle with his family, as mentioned previously on Real Friends. At the same time of TLOP's initial release on Valentine's Day, Kanye admitted on Twitter that in the pursuit of establishing the Yeezy brand, he had accumulated a whopping $53 million in personal debt, even revealing how people in the business world have attempted to use that debt to put pressure on him. And despite that, he still felt compelled to loan and give money to some of his friends and family, with him and Kim knowing that they are not in the best spot to do so. A lot of major headlines around Ye were speculative on how he was wasting his money on his creative ventures. Take this article from Radar Online for example. This article was discussing the Yeezy Season 3 fashion show, or the Yeezus 3 fashion show that error could have taken one Google search to fix. The article discussing how Ye ended up paying $2 million out of his own pocket to host the show, with the writer calling it disastrous. Kanye had also not so secretly been fighting for the respect and a chance in the fashion industry for years, even dating back to the college dropout era. As previously mentioned, he had attempted to establish his first brand, Mascot by kanyewest, in 2004. And fun fact, even today, many trademarks and copyrights for Yeezy and other Kanye-related businesses are still registered under Mascot Holdings Incorporated. The second brand, and the most notable one, was Pastel. Started around the graduation era, Ye even hiring the, at the time up-and-coming, late Virgil Abloh, among others, to start designing, with one of Kanye's most iconic pieces being that famous jacket. But as for those brands, Mascot wasn't able to get much traction and was ultimately scrapped around 2006 or 7, and Pastel was preparing for a proper launch, but was scrapped due to Kanye's controversy following the VMAs incident. Not even to mention the Yeezy and Nike fallout. Kanye's growing tension with the fashion industry grew stronger during the Yeezus era, famously with one of the biggest timestamps from that era being, of course, the iconic Sway interview. All of this to say, Kanye's long battle of getting into fashion was, and still is, kind of a sensitive subject. Uh-oh. 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 Oh, that's a problem. Oh, that's not good. I ran out of storage on my computer, and my audio file is... Oh god, that's bad. So yeah, my computer ran out of storage, and stopped midway through, and I had to stop recording because I was worried that I was about to lose everything I had recorded over the last hour or so. So that was fun. Also, it's 2 days later. Fortunately for Kanye, Kim would end up paying off this debt for him later in 2016, but when this song was written, of course, the issue was still up in the air. Having an enormous debt constantly following him and having so many people in the media at the time telling him to give it up
clearly started deteriorating his mental health. He even recounts that he was advised by his friend and collaborator Rhymefest, someone who's been working with Kanye since day one, even writing the majority of the second verses to Jesus Walks and New Slaves. He advised Kanye to get off the internet for his own mental health. And coincidentally, Rhymefest also announced around the same time of TLOP's initial release that he was leaving the Yeezy camp, believing that Ye needs to get mental health assistance and not surround himself with yes men. This revelation, unfortunately, gives what Franklin Lawrence said earlier a bit more credibility, and we'll be discussing this a bit more later. As the song continues, he goes on to defend his Twitter rants, saying that he isn't out of control, he's just not in their control. The Jews line, and the Twitter line have all aged like milk since. Don't you miss when Kanye being crazy on Twitter was him just being like reasonably upset about something or just saying funny things? Yeah, me too. He defends his ambition by showing off his influence, bringing up that Time cover from the previous year. He believes that he can see into the future, and that his influence will be recognized in the future, even if people can't see it now. And a prime example of that was indeed a lot of the Yeezy fashion. Many of his pieces and his personal style from 2014 and 2015 were clowned on at the time, but many people look back on those fits in hindsight as like peak 2016-2017 fashion. Even though I don't like Dude right now, gotta give him credit where credit is due. It's also worth noting that he ends his verse with a reference to We Don't Care from The College Dropout, recounting how, in the eyes of many, he wasn't supposed to make it past 25. As many other black people who may have grown up in the streets like he did, or famous black musicians, namely Big and Tupac being another Gemini, also didn't make it past 25. And to make this line hit even harder, it's also worth mentioning that Kanye's near-death car crash that inspired the creation of Through the Wire happened when he was 25. Kanye, since that day, believes that the accident was a sign from God, that he has a great opportunity in front of him, but that it could be taken away at any moment. The addition of that line adds so much significance to a song like St. Pablo. But this crisis of his potentially failing business ventures is made even worse by the fact that he has to rely on the success of his work to provide for his family and loved ones. As a creative, his literal job is creating products that people will consume, whether it be music, fashion, Yeezy porn, or whatever the case may be. Kanye has put so much of his own money into Yeezy because he sees the success that it may carry. And as the song goes on, he continuously discusses why it's important for him to not only have his creative ventures work, but that he can do it on his own terms. Throughout the song, there are countless lines about how the entertainment industry and corporate world in general have very famously exploited the hard works of black entertainers or creatives like Kanye, all those powerful rich white men reaping the majority of the benefits from their work and giving them scraps of their real earnings. Or in an example more relevant to the music industry, not giving them ownerships of one's works, or their masters. Fast forwarding a bit to 2020-2021, during the Donda era, Kanye was very publicly revealed his fight with Universal Music Group to gain control of his masters, having full ownership of his work. Not only is it a symbolic win when people of color can take back what is theirs, but ownership provides full creative control over their music and how it is used in potentially movies, TV, and sampled in other music potentially, and etc. And also provides a huge monetary opportunity as well. God forbid, but if Kim and Ye were to pass right now, their kids would someday have ownership over Skims, Yeezy, and the discography of one of the most celebrated minds in music. Their kids' will be set for life. Another example of these issues is the Yeezy brand itself. The reason why Nike and Ye fell out was because they refused to give him royalties for his work because he wasn't an athlete like Michael Jordan. When signing his Adidas deal, Kanye got full creative control and 100% ownership of the Yeezy brand, while Adidas would take the majority of the profit, still giving Ye some royalties. And even though Adidas and Ye would fall out for very obvious and fair reasons, and Kanye would elect to run Yeezy fully on his own, that was still you have to think about this, that was still an amazing and incredibly unprecedented deal at the time. And again, we can look in hindsight, that deal made him a billionaire. He effectively proved all of his doubters wrong within just 2 years' time at least, before he would then lose his billionaire status because he said some things on a podcast. He uses some parts of his verses to remind other black people of this as well, not to allow these people to control us anymore. He praises Jay Electronica, a rapper who I briefly touched on in the FML video because he said some not so great opinions that Kanye agrees with. But Ye praises him for his unconventional album release strategy for his highly anticipated sophomore project, Act 2. And with hindsight, said release strategy was just delaying the album multiple times indefinitely until it was finally released in 2020. Starting to see where Kanye gets his ideas from. Many believing that Jay was going against common industry rules. He also mentioned how he declined an Apple Music deal to instead go with Jay-Z and release TLOP on Tidal, a platform that was still in its infancy, with Jay buying the company for around $56 million in 2015. As I mentioned in my Frank Ocean video, artists in 2015 and 16 were getting offered these multi-million-dollar exclusivity deals with Apple Music for their albums. Frank's deal being around a rumored $20 million, and Drake's rumored to be around the same price as well, for example. And Kanye could have taken the easy money, but decided to stick with his big brother, the man who put him on, continuing in the verse believing that as long as Jay is successful, he will be too. Not in a mooching way, but knowing that he could always find a way to aid Jay in his endeavors, the same way that he did for Kanye. This line also reaffirms his belief in the importance of ownership. But at the end of the day, Kanye isn't fighting for respect just for vanity, even though there is always some level of vanity involved with that man. He is doing this for his family. The most touching line in the song is when Kanye is discussing the effect money could have on somebody, especially someone like him, as he very emotionally reminds himself who he's doing this for. His voice audibly cracking as he says, "Real families stick together and see through the mirage." His wife and loved ones have been his support during this time, and as we've discussed on this album, we see that Kanye recognizes the importance of his family and is ready to always fight for them. But despite having his family's support, is still yearning for more in this time of need. Towards the end of the second verse, we see Kanye speak to God, saying that he knows that he's always been with him. But when we get to Sampha's verse and chorus, saying from Kanye's perspective, we see that Kanye is begging for a sign that God is still carrying him. As the chorus reads, "Yeah, you're looking in the church in the night sky, wondering whether God's gonna say hi. And you wonder where's God in your nightlife." In Sampha's beautiful verse, he reiterates that he is opening himself up to the Lord, not understanding why he hasn't received help or even a sign from him yet. In this verse, Sampha sings, "I promised I wouldn't fold anymore, but I'm crying at the bar. I'm wishing that you saw my scars, man. I'm wishing that you came down here and stood by me and looked at me like you knew me. But I feel so alone, like I don't know anyone except the night sky above." Despite Kanye proudly wearing his faith on his chest during this album, like almost any religious person, as we reach low points in our lives, we can sometimes reach low points in our faith. In this moment, it feels like everything Kanye has been working for could crumble at a moment's notice, and feels like God is ignoring his cries for help. Closing the life of Pablo on such a poignant and almost inconclusive feeling ending. But with the project ending on this song, we see how cyclical Kanye's life can be now. The question of which one is a question he has to answer every day he wakes up. While the album doesn't end on like a perfect sonic loop like Igor, for example, you can see this cyclical nature in the album's themes. Coming off of a very sobering song about Kanye worrying that his life could fall apart at any moment and that God has left his life, when you put the album on loop and get back to Ultralight Beam, we see that Kanye is trying to build back up his faith. As the chorus in that song states, "I'm trying to keep my faith, but I'm looking for more, somewhere I can feel safe and end my holy war." And that's the thing. He might not be cheating on his wife every day, but the overarching theme of never losing sight of your priorities and choosing not to fuck your life up will always have some relevance in Kanye's life. Kanye doesn't have family members blackmailing him with sensitive information every day, but he will always have to be wary of who he trusts. And after looking through this album again, while I don't fully agree with the comments that St. Pablo is the same level of importance as FML in terms of defining and understanding Kanye's character, there is still an immense value in this song. The Life of Pablo is top 3 Kanye to me for a reason. Even though I'm not as famous as he is, the messages in these 3 songs will always be relatable to anybody. He made something so vulnerable and honest. This album, and this entire era in general, in my eyes, was really the last amazing moment for Kanye. Yes, even including the Donda era. Despite rising controversy that year with the Taylor drama, he had 2016 in his hands, making it all the more sad when the St. Pablo tour got super hectic with Kim's kidnapping, the infamous rant, and Kanye getting hospitalized. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. The TLOP era was the beginning of a major shift in Kanye's public perception and mode of operation. As previously mentioned in the FML video, 2016 started off as one of the best and most turbulent years for Ye, but ended horribly.
This would be the same year that he announced his support for future president Donald Trump, have his infamous concert rants, would start beef with Drake again, would tweet defending the innocence of Bill Cosby. That tweet has seemed to have flown under the radar over the last few years, I don't know why. And would reignite his drama with Taylor Swift after the famous line. And due to the influx of rants and boosting of his ego, 2016 would start off as one of the last uncontestably great years for Kanye, up until the St. Pablo tour started. Of course, he would stay out of the public eye for most of 2017, still recovering from the incident, notably producing and making an appearance on Glow from Drake's More Life. But as we all know, 2018 would be the start of the MAGA dick riding, making those slavery was a choice comments, and opportunistically beginning to move toward the right, as they would be the only group in mainstream media allowing him to speak freely. A mistake that I'm sure that even people on the right regret now to some degree. 2018 was a year when the wedge started to get thrown between many of Kanye's former supporters and collaborators. People like Justin Vernon of Bon Iver, for example, cited Kanye's political views as the reason he doesn't want to work with him anymore. And that was back in 2019. It was during this time as well that a lot of the black community started turning against Kanye as well for supporting a president who is documented racist. Again, I covered this shift way more in depth in the FML video, and I'm not going to repeat the last hour and 20 minutes of that video here, but still, to summarize it quickly, due to the media looking at Ye more and more through a microscope, he felt compelled to adapt more right-wing beliefs that directly challenge previous beliefs and values shown in the College Bear trilogy, namely Dropout and Late Registration, Twisted Fantasy, Yeezus, and TLOP to a degree. He got himself into deeper and deeper shit without many people willing to check him, thus eventually leading to Ye in his current form. Something that I feel that I neglected to mention during this revisit was, again, how important the emphasis was on Kanye's issues with the media. As one of the main things that I discussed in the FML video was, of course, his anti-Semitism. And I talked about the road that led there. And when reflecting on the life of Pablo, you start to see the importance that Kanye's relationship with the media and with the business world does carry into the story of his downfall. In this discussion, I've mentioned multiple times that within this album, from Kanye's perspective, many people in the media were criticizing him and wanted to see him fail. But again, due to very misguided teachings on Jewish people and the fact that he happened to be wronged by some Jewish people in the industry, that got conflated from there are mean people in the industry to the spooky Jews are puppeteers in the industry, and that's why Vultures 3, all the popcorn edition, didn't go triple platinum with no features. This makes me feel compelled to bring up what Rhymefest said again. In February 2016, the day after the MSG show, Rhymefest would tweet that he had stopped working with Ye the previous month, still showing him love and support, but said he believes that Kanye needed counseling and should step away from the public eye and yes men so that he can heal. He said that 9 years ago, and y'all need to understand why this was so major, no pun intended. Again, Rhymefest was one of Kanye's day one homies. They were friends at the age of 15, connecting over music. One of their first collabs was a track in collaboration with The Go-Getters, Kanye's short-lived Chicago rap group, featuring members Aerostar, Timmy G, and GLC, who most of you may know as he was featured extensively on the College Bear trilogy. They have been working together for a long time. You can even see him present during some of Kanye's early studio sessions during the Genius documentary. And as mentioned earlier, he wrote the famous second verses to Jesus Walks and New Slaves, some of Kanye's most praised performances to this very day. Like Justin Vernon, Rhyme officially ended his relationship with Kanye in 2018, distancing the charity that he co-ran with Kanye and himself from Ye's MAGA support. This charity, initially called Donda's House, but now renamed to Art of Culture due to the controversy, officially cutting ties between the two, with Rhyme even alleging that Ye did not front financial support to aid the maintenance of Donda's House. Before any of the events within the last 9 years, hell, even before the events within the last 2.5 years, Rhyme could sense that Ye was not well and wanted him to get help. This is not just some celebrity gossip blogger who has questionably sourced insider info. Again, this was Kanye's childhood friend who was saying these things. We obviously can't trace the exact reasons and timeline as to how Kanye went from being on top of the world to ending his marriage with Kim and becoming an attention-seeking rage baiter at the age of 48, but it is crazy how many of these signs are present and how not a lot of us were able to see them back then. And I feel very comfortable in saying the life of Pablo marked a very, very big turning point into the creation of Ye now. As I've been writing this video, I keep thinking back to that TMZ rant with Van Lathan. He articulated so many of my feelings perfectly, and this again was back in 2018, before all the praising shit started. Now look, I don't want to use the same clip for the third time in a row. I've been doing a lot of clip reusing today, but it felt important to bring up. It's almost astonishing the amount of negative change this man has gone through. Like, even as another small example, in that interview, at the very least, Kanye allowed Van to speak his mind and let him say everything he wanted to before responding. Ye now would never do that shit today. I keep repeating myself, and I'm sorry, but yeah, Kanye West is gone. Ye has made that point very clear with him now creating a dedicated artist page and him making the full transition of now changing his name to Ye. Oh, these fucking these vultures memes. I'm gonna be in an insane asylum one day, and I'm gonna be talking about popcorn and Aldi's while zipped up in a straitjacket. Many people say that he died after Donda, which is a very fair assumption to make. I don't even want to say that August 27th, 2021 was the day Kanye died. I honestly think he died the day of the Larry Hoover concert. After that, with the announcement of Donda 2 and the mess that was that, even that was showing signs that things were not going the greatest. Ye taking Kanye West's place has been one of the worst things to happen. It astonishes me how far and how quickly he was able to fall from grace. Just to get back up for a minute and then to fall into even deeper shit somehow. Now encouraging his fan base of rabid teenage white boys that free speech means that you can just say objectively harmful and hateful things and shouldn't be criticized for it, even if it borders or is just straight up neo-Nazi shit. And also, small side tangent by the way, why is Kanye in support of Drake's lawsuit against UMG? Are you serious? Like, the supposed free speech nigga is supporting a lawsuit where, if Drake were to win, would set an incredibly dangerous precedent for freedom of expression in music. Why? You're actually joking. Like, you're actually joking, right? And I love how in them tweets he tries to act like him and Drake are still homies. That nigga does not fuck with you at all. He has since dissed you in music after the Larry Hoover concert. His mom is Jewish. The nigga had a bar mitzvah, for God's sakes. He does not fuck with you. The only people in his circle now are such obvious glazers, and it's almost sad. A lot of my empathy for this man was ripped out earlier this year when all the Grammy stuff happened. Can you imagine Pink Polo Kanye, hell, even TLOP era Kanye, hanging around a dude like Sneeko, a guy who is an avid defender of the movie Cuties? Or again, Nick Fuentes, you're in your 20s and you're talking about, I want to marry a 16-year-old. You have children. Why? We have fully lost the plot, ladies and gentlemen. And theys. This man makes god-awful music nowadays, is a reactionary supporter of Diddy despite calling him a weirdo 2 years before. He treats his new wife like an object, and hell, even has some of his own sexual harassment suits and allegations levied against him. Seeing a man that I previously idolized so much become a bottom-of-the-barrel human being like this is painful. Similar to what I said at the end of the FML video, the entire album of The Life of Pablo has inadvertently turned itself into a tragic tale. He lost that balance that he once worked so hard for, nowadays only moving in ways to benefit himself. The only logical way I see Ye changing is if he is locked in a room with all of his current supporters, Nick Fuentes and Sneeko included, and they're forced to listen to his first 5 albums on a loop. Only then maybe he'll have a moment of clarity and be begged to let out of the room. I'll be real, it's been hard for me to write a proper conclusion to this video because I have officially said almost everything I could about this man. So I don't feel like dragging this on for too long. Look, I could easily make a video every time Kanye's doing some stupid shit like being denied entry into Diddy's trial and also wearing white to the court. Ooh.
Well, watch out, guys. This guy is Edgy as shit, straight out of the kitchen cabinet, ready to cut into some SJW tenderloins.
But it feels like beating a dead horse at this point. Not even beating a dead horse. This feels just like shooting a dead horse with a Spartan laser. My biggest struggle when writing this video has been my worry that I have not been saying enough. I tried to be decently thorough with my scripts, but because this is something that I have talked about before, and this is a situation that will never fix itself, I find it hard to talk about its actions and write a proper conclusion without repeating myself for the millionth time. Look, I'll be real, this isn't me throwing shade to people who do this, but yeah, it'd be easy views for me to, again, just to pay attention to whatever he's doing, and then somehow squeeze that into a 10 or 15 minute video, but that's not my style of content, and again, it feels lazy. I was kind of already ready to hang up the towel talking about this man after the last video, so I hope you will excuse the lack of conclusiveness here. I said most of what I wanted to say in the FML video, and I think even a year now removed from it, and even though that video isn't super perfect, I think I said almost everything I possibly could. At the end of the day, I will say this: I wish that man would take a look in the mirror and get some help, but that shit will never happen. And as a former fan of the man, that will never cease to break my heart. But before we do end this video, I do want to thank you guys again for the support on the channel in the past year. With this being my pseudo epilogue to the FML video, and this video coming out probably a week after the year anniversary of the No One Wants to Fall Out of Heaven finale, I feel it is important to show appreciation for all the support in the past year. That series was truly a passion project, and I'm beyond happy to see that people were able to sense that. I said similar things in like a recent community post, but still I'm gonna repeat it again. From the countless DMs and comments of people who relate to my struggles with self-worth and mental health, or those who have said that my videos have helped improve their lives or improve them as people, y'all make me strive to make the best videos I can make, and I appreciate the hell out of y'all for that continued support. I hope this summer to be a bit more consistent, as there are some very fun video ideas I have planned for not just summer but the rest of the year. Once again, this button on legendary.com, please and thank you if you are able to support. If not, all good. But to close, honestly, I feel that it is just appropriate to use the ending to the FML video once again, as even to this day, I still think it was the greatest outro I've ever written. So, take it away, me. But to wrap it up, in FML, Kanye almost perfectly predicted his own downfall. In a shoddy attempt to gain his independence and get back at the media, he negated the well-being of his family, used his faith to recklessly defend bigotry, losing many friends, fans, family members, and collaborators, forever putting a nasty stain on his legacy. But I hope that if you've taken anything away from this video, it's that the tale of FML is a cautionary one. The unfortunately self-fulfilling nature of this song has shown me the importance of doing your best to keep your life in balance, being able to recognize your shortcomings and recognize your fuck-ups. Kanye has lost the respect of his family, former wife, and billions due to the fact that he was willing to ignore his declining mental health and his own values in pursuit of his own personal freedoms. If this video has shown you anything today, it should be one thing: that it is crucial to never lose sight of the things that are truly important to you, before one day you make a decision you end up regretting and that ultimately fucks your life up.